Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Good evening everyone and welcome to SimSpeed TV here on the iRacing Esports Network for tonight's round number 7 of the Murray Bridge Bin Manufacturing and Down Under Graphics ASC Series, Australian Sprint Car Series, Australia's premier online sprint car series. My name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me in the booth is our resident dirt expert, Cameron Dance. Cam, it's going to be a really interesting night of racing. A very different circuit, this one at Kokomo Speedway. It's going to be a very fun night of racing.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of the toughest tracks to get right out of the whole lot on the service. There's nothing that comes close to it. I mean, it's just the fact that it's so short and so quick that you've just got to make sure that you do not make a mistake, because there's very little room for error, and should you make a mistake, you either end up in the wall or either making contact with someone. So it's going to be really interesting to see what sort of racing we're going to have tonight and what the line's going to do, because we've seen some interesting lines in the past few rounds where it's gone to a different way, whether it's gone to the bottom or it's gone top dominant. It's really been a guessing game so far this season as to whether the track's going to do something completely different or it's going to do something completely normal.
The other thing too we talked about just before is you mentioned that the track feels really different because we're racing in the day. Most dirt racing on iRacing is done in nighttime conditions, so racing in the day is going to change a few things for a lot of drivers. It'll change the way that the track evolves as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll have that sun beaming down on the track, so a lot more residual heat on the track and a lot less moisture, so the track's going to dry out a lot quicker and also probably slick off a lot quicker as well due to that lack of moisture. So going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. And like we said just before, the way the track's going to form is going to be completely different to what probably, if not everybody's going to be used to.
Great to see Alex Bergeron back this week as well after missing the last round 2 weeks ago. Big names back out on circuit tonight, and Bergeron does lead the championship. Get the championship standings up on screen. This is the standings after 6 rounds, not 7 as it says on the screen. It is after 6 with the drop round included, which has actually closed the championship right up. Lewis Hewitt, Alex Bergeron, Joel Berkeley, all well and truly within striking range, and one full race clear of the top 5. So anyone in the top 5 could take the lead in the championship if things go their way tonight. So it's a really, really important night for any of the guys in that top 5.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen those top 5 guys about getting consistent points. Hobbo's been there or thereabouts. He had a really, really good run at USA Speedway a few weeks ago, and then we've seen, obviously, the top 4 just blast away from the rest of the field and be in the class of their own. So going to be really interesting. And with, like you said, how it looks in the championship, looking at that top 3, it's going to be really, really close. I know that Lewis Hewitt and Joel Berkeley for Slick Sim Sports have been really, really good here in the past times, whether it be in the World Championship Series or just in general. It's been, those two have really been people to beat, although Bergeron's been on a real charge so far this season. So going to be really interesting to see what happens and who's actually going to come out on top out of those 3.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be really, really tight between all of those guys. As we go to the conditions for tonight, it's fairly warm out there. Of course, racing through the day, but the clouds will come over throughout the race conditions as well, which will make it very, very interesting as well. And of course, tonight, again, the main event, caution laps will not count, which has changed the complexion of some of these races. It's changed how some of these drivers have attacked the racing, and it's really brought on an extra element that some drivers weren't prepared for early on in the season. And we saw last year and how much cleaner the racing was because people were getting a little bit tired of so many caution periods.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those weird things you look at it and go, it's fast paced and everybody's trying to win because of how close it is. But when everybody starts to actually realize what they've actually got to do to get through the rest of the race, it actually really does become quite entertaining. And like I said, we actually start to see less and less cautions because everybody's understanding, right, we've got to try and stay away from each other and hope that we don't actually crash.
See a new name there beside Joel Berkeley's name, that is Slick Sim Sports, the new team that's come from the demise of TTL Esports, and a few other drivers making a return to the series. Tom Callahan out on track tonight, which is great to see. It's been a while since we've seen him out on track in this series. And as I said before, Alex Bergeron has come back after missing the last round a couple of weeks ago and just making contact there with, not sure who that was. I think it was Scott Butler. But track actually looks really, really busy. As we were saying, it is the smallest circuit on the calendar, but it's also really oddly shaped too, with the straight between turns 2 and 3, more or less another corner as opposed to a straight like it is between turns 4 and turn 1.
Yeah, normally you've obviously got those 2 straights between the 2 corners, and this one's a little bit different. You have to sort of look at it as almost as though it's a bit like Richmond, where you're not ever going in a straight line apart from one straight. It's turning pretty much almost in a constant radius nearly. So it's a really, really fascinating track. And like you see in practice, a lot of drivers are using that top line because it's a lot more banked up higher against the fence, whereas down on the bottom, it does actually flatten out. So it's a really complex and more driver's circuit for as far as dirt racing goes, compared to if you were to say Eldora, where it's much like Talladega on a NASCAR side of things.
Yeah, we will be at Eldora next week, so 2 polar opposite circuits for the final 2 rounds of this series. As we said, round 7 of this 8-round series, and some decent prize money up for grabs too. Big thanks to Murray Bridge Bin Manufacturing, who are putting up some very, very good prize money for this series. I believe $300 up for grabs for these drivers, so some good money up for grabs in this series, and it'll be great to see how these guys do going forward as well. With only a minute 50 to go in this practice session, Joel Berkeley, Jordan McDonnell, Alex Bergeron and Tom Callahan are the top 4 drivers. We've got 17 drivers out on track at the moment, and they're all trying to push the absolute limit right now.
Yeah, they're all obviously trying to find the grip that they can with how little there is, as it normally is on dirt. But looking at the track, it's actually starting to slick up quite a bit through a lot of the corners, and a lot of that loose dirt is possibly going to catch a lot of people out, because it's going to be quite slick up there come qualifying or even the later heats, and not a lot of people are going to know that if they haven't actually been watching practice and all that. So it's going to be really interesting to see what's actually going to happen with this track, and yeah, going to be one heck of a show, I reckon.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a really, really good show, and it won't be far away from getting underway. We will have the same format we've had throughout this season. The heat races of 10 laps, B main of 15, and then the main event of tonight, 40 laps. So we had 30 lap mains for the longer track, shorter track here tonight with only around about an 11-second lap time. So we will get a 40 lap main event with caution laps not counting towards a lap count. So we could see as many as 70 odd laps of actual driving out on circuit, which really starts to mess with the heads of some of the guys, and some of the strategy really has to come into play, because fuel numbers do count by the end of that. If you get 10 cautions or so, 8, 10 cautions, your fuel numbers start to really, really stretch out.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, with it being one of the shorter tracks, fuel burn's not too big of an issue, obviously being with it shorter and burning less fuel. So it's a bit of a gamble between whether you want to put that safe fuel in. Obviously, if you do run around the top around against the wall and the cushion, it does burn a bit more fuel. But if you are running on that bottom, you can save quite a bit of fuel. So it'll really, really be interesting to see who does what and whether we might see some fuel saving later in the night.
So that is practice done. Qualifying is underway. 2 laps for every driver out on circuit. The first driver out, Harry Stewart, is about to get himself underway. It seems to be the norm for him to get out there first. He's not too worried about being the first car out there and trying to set the pace early on. A lot of drivers, though, wait till the very, very last minute to see how the track has evolved and how it is behaving before they put in the lap times. It's interesting to see the strategy that some guys use, and that's not a great start there for Harry Stewart.
Yeah, very, very easy thing to do, especially with the way that the corner off, well, the exit off the corner on turn 4 is. It's very, very slick where it is, and very easy to spin up the tyres and do what Harry did there. So it's going to be really interesting to see if anybody gets caught out, and also tapping the wall is as well through the middle of the corner. So yeah, it's again one of those driver's tracks we really got to be on top of your game and knowing where the grip is. And so far, by the looks of it, John McDonnell is that one with currently about 300ths of a second clear of everybody else. Mick Wilson second. So going to be really interesting as I just say that, and John McKenzie goes straight to the top. So a couple of the guys starting to come out and really put some good times down.
The other thing too is those tyres on the inside of the circuit that show where the edge of the circuit is. If you try and be a little bit too aggressive, you can clip those, and they will shoot the car upside down really, really easy. They are so easy to unsettle the car. Saw Brett Wheeler do that on his first flying lap. He cost himself a heap of times. Lewis Hewitt comes along. He's only got 1 flying lap in, and he'll start from 9th, way back in the field. So some guys a little bit further back than what we would expect, which means we're going to have a real shuffled up field when we get into racing in about 3 minutes' time. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Always good fun to have a mixed up field.
Yeah, for sure. It's really, really mixed up at the moment. There's a couple of guys that are down the order. Obviously, Lewis Hewitt, Tom Callahan, and Brett Wheeler, currently 2 championship contenders as well down the bottom of the order. So really, really mixed up field, like you said, at the moment, and it'd be actually quite interesting to see what the rest of qualifying can provide.
As Brenton Hobson decides it's time for him to get out on the circuit and see what he can do. Hobbo 88, the fan favourite. So still in the hunt for this championship. See what he can do. And as you said, look at the wheel work. You've got to really be controlled through turns 2 and 3 and just thrown it in way too deep into turn 4 and lost all momentum. He's going to have to go again. Best lap at the moment is 11.3. 11.386 for Jai McKenzie. Daniel Stevens now in second position. And that will put Brenton Hobson into P number 3 because James Rice has just gone to the top of the timesheets on his first flying lap.
Didn't quite go quicker on that second lap. That exit of turn 4 is really catching a lot of drivers out. As you can see, they're trying to get on the gas as much as they can to get the exit, but it just starts to drift up into that wall, and it's very close to nearly ending up in the wall. As Berkeley with a big moment out of turn 4, again trying to get that power in, and you just end up in the slicks. So really difficult conditions out there for a lot of drivers at the moment in qualifying. 2
drivers left to have an attempt at this qualifying run. Harry Stewart did 2 laps, did not post a time. Trent Vardy and Alex Bergeron still yet to post a qualifying lap. Bergeron decides now's the time to go. Trent Vardy may not put in a lap time, but we'll see what Bergeron can do. This will be an interesting run here. He's watched what everyone else has done. Now it's his time to try and shine. Yeah, Bergeron obviously the favourite to win tonight and probably put it on pole as well. He's running a slightly different line, using the low line through turns 3 and 4, although back straight out of that lap because he's clearly not happy with it, or he's actually made a mistake and possibly clipped the wall. Which means now he's only got 1 lap to do it, so he doesn't get a second run. See what he can do on this run. He's got 1 flying lap to try and do it. He's just clipped the wall again there, so see what he does on this lap. 11.326, the time to beat. Not an easy time to beat the way that the track has started to go away, but have a look at how smooth he is going through turns 3 and 4. Not enough, and that will put him in the mid-pack in 10th position. So of our 17 drivers, we have had 15 post a lap time. And James Rice with the fastest time, only 15 hundredths of a second clear of Joel Berkeley. Jai McKenzie in 3rd and Brenton Hobson 4th. That is a really mixed up field with a lot of our big contenders way back in the field. Bergeron, Hewitt, Callahan and Wheeler a long way back from where we would have expected them to be. Yeah, for sure. That's a very mixed up grid by the looks of it. Obviously, if you were to take Brett's mistake out, that's pretty much the entire field covered by roughly half a second. So it's massively competitive, and it's just going to show how difficult this track can be on some occasions. James Rice and Jai McKenzie on the front row with Daniel Stevens and Mick Wilson on row 2. Bradley Sanders and James Robbie on the 3rd row. Lewis Hewitt, Brett Wheeler on the 4th row. And then the 5th row will have Harry Stewart all by himself. 9 cars ready to take off as we get heat number 1 for round 7 underway here on SimSpeed TV on the iRacing Esports Network. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us, whether it be on the iRacing Esports Network YouTube or the SimSpeed TV Facebook page. We appreciate you for joining us. Appreciate your company. This is going to be a very fun night of racing. Tuesday night Dirt Night is always a favourite within the SimSpeed booth. Looking forward to seeing how tonight plays out as Jai McKenzie tries to work out where the group is on the outside there. Try and get the run out of the final corner when the green flag flies. Yeah, a lot of drivers are going to be looking for where the grip could possibly be on restarts and even on the starts, just so they can try and get the power down as much as they can. But like I said, there's a lot of dirt up there at the top that is loose, and it's going to make it really interesting as James Rice is lining it up, and the green flag is gone, and we're away. Yeah, really good jump there from James Rice, and then Jai McKenzie, Daniel Stevens, Mick Wilson, Bradley Sanders in that mid-pack, getting very racy, and Brett Wheeler already trying to make moves. Lewis Hewitt as well, trying to get his way through the field after a horrible qualifying run. 10-lap heat here. Rice, McKenzie. Oh, it's contact between Hewitt and Robbie. Very tight racing between those guys, and Lewis Hewitt starting to break away, but James Rice at the front. He's got this one all by himself for now. Jai McKenzie, though, feeling a bit of pressure from behind from Daniel Stevens. Bradley Sanders still in this too. Yeah, Stevens just holding pace at the moment on the back of McKenzie. McKenzie's
nearly there or thereabouts with James Rice, but just not able to do it. And Stevens trying to go to the bottom, but not enough grip down there at the moment for the time being, as Mackenzie makes a bit of a mistake heading into turn one. He clipped the wall on the inside of turn one, on the outside turn one, sorry, so that's completely unsettled him, shuffled him back to third. But at the moment, Bradley Sanders is really looking like he could possibly have a chance here at getting onto the podium.
James Robbie and Lewis Hewitt side by side. This is for 5th and 6th. Of course, top 4 automatically advance into the A main. So these guys really want to try not to fight too hard and start to work their way forward. They are quicker than the guys ahead, that being Sanders and Mackenzie, but at the front of the field, James Rice is absolutely flying away. Just set the fastest lap of the race. Now starting to pull away from Mackenzie. Bradley Sanders is doing a great job to hold on to these guys and not lose too much ground to Hewitt and Robbie behind.
Yeah, Sanders is not too far off the pace compared to the two in front of him. He's actually quicker than both of them. Only one of them, sorry, apart from Stevens, is just a little bit quicker, but the pace is so even between these three. There's nothing in it, and just behind, Lewis Hewitt is absolutely gaining traction on these guys. He's reeling them in.
Checkered flag is out. James Rice will win. Stevens, Mackenzie and Sanders, and then across the line, that was really close between Hewitt and Robbie. 22 thousandths of a second separated those two at the line. That was really, really tight between them, but James Rice will hold on with Daniel Stevens in second, John Mackenzie third, Bradley Sanders in fourth, and Hewitt, Robbie, Wheeler, Wilson all finished on the lead lap, but we'll have to go through the LCQ through the B main with Harry Stewart finding himself back in the pits very, very early. Unfortunately for him, as we go to the grid for heat number 2, Berkeley and Hobson on the front row with McDonnell and Vince Romeo on the second row. Bergeron and Butler, Callahan and Vardy, the rest of the field, with Bob King, of course, being admin for tonight. So looks like Trent Vardy might be having some tech issues, so may not take the grid as well, which will be a little bit disappointing if he can't make it on the grid, but still a very, very competitive heat here.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, you could almost say everybody's got a shot at winning this race.
Yep.
It's that competitive. I mean, you got Bergeron in starting 5th, you got Callahan starting at the back, you've got Berkeley and Hobson on the front row with McDonnell just behind them, as well as Vince Romeo. So it's anybody's guess as to who's going to win this at this stage, because it's just that competitive of a heat.
It's 3 drivers in the heat that have been in the World Championship, and probably the other 4 are all skilled enough that could make it if they were able to. So this is a really, really impressive heat right here. These are some of the best we have in the world, not just in Australia and New Zealand, out on track for this heat here. So looking forward to seeing how this one plays out as the iRacing pace truck goes around for its second lap, and it will pull off into the pits halfway around the circuit as we get ready to go green for heat number 2 here at Kokomo Speedway. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be an exciting heat, this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Bergeron and Hobson on the front row. Berkeley goes really, really early and gets a massive jump, although the rest of the field all fanning out. Bergeron's right up on the inside, nearly touching the tyres, and he's up to 4th already, so made a gain there on, I believe that was Vince Romeo. But at the moment, that battle for the minor transfer spots, it's all going off. Bergeron trying to go around the highway, and he's got a massive run on the rest of the field. Oh, and a bit of contact.
Oh, no.
So McDonnell over and out of that race, but still going on for those minor positions. Bergeron's still railing the top, and you can see the amount of drive that he's just got around that top side. So the top of the racetrack really possibly starting to come in now as contact between Romeo and Callahan on the front straight. So Callahan's had to spin it around, and he'll be at the back of the field. But here comes Bergeron, because he's got some massive pace at the moment.
That lap by was the fastest lap of the race, an 11.3. Would have been enough to put Bergeron right at the front of the field, and he's going to scoot straight around the outside on Brenton Hobson. Not quite able to get it done yet, but this is really going to be a matter of when, not if, here for Hobson losing this spot to Bergeron, because he's just looking so good right now. He's got that top line absolutely worked out, cuts it down to the bottom. And Hobson's going to be able to come back, though. Good job from Hobson to get that move back done, and just holding the middle line so that Bergeron can't get through. This is some good driving from both these guys.
Yeah, great driving there by Hobson to read what Bergeron was doing and get the position back. These two going at it, nail and fist, and they're really railing that top side. Bergeron's going to throw another slide job to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get it back up, but Hobson's going to get the drive out of the corner and go straight back by. Is he going to throw a slide job straight up? But Bergeron's going to drive it around the outside with 1 lap to go.
Great driving from both those guys. Joel Berkeley will come across the line and pick up the win. Bergeron will hold on for second in the end. Hobson in third. Scott Butler will cross the line in fourth. And Vince Romeo, the last finisher of our 7-car field in that one, finishes in 5th position. The results on screen there. Berkeley, Bergeron, Hobson, Butler, Romeo, Callahan, and then McDonald with having issues. We're going straight into the warm-up session for the main event, which is a little surprising, but I'm not upset about that. It means that we're going to have a short night of racing, which means that the guys are going to be really, really fresh and all have their eye in when it comes time for this main event in just a moment.
Yeah, and the other thing is that with obviously no B main or anything, the track's a lot fresher, so probably going to be some very interesting racing, and we could see some different lines being taken from a lot of different drivers. Obviously, we saw the top was really starting to come into its own there in the second heat with Bergeron and Hobson both running it literally the whole way around. So it'll be really interesting to see what it does and whether the bottom could possibly have anything. It's still got some decent pace by the looks of things, but that top line's going to be really dominant and really all about trying to keep it out of that invisible slick line almost, which is covered by all that loose dirt.
A 3-minute warm-up for these guys as well, and as we said, 40-lap main event. Caution laps will not count. We will have a lap counter up on screen. It is 99% sure that it will be accurate. We hope that we're all good. We along with the admins are both using the same software to run that, so hopefully we will be okay. Of course, we do have live timing available on our website as well at simspeed.tv/live timing. Then click on the ASC link. You'll be able to keep up to date with where everyone is out on the circuit at all times. So how do you think this one will play out, Cam? Do you think we're going to see a fairly clean race with how those heats went, or do you think we're going to see a little bit more carnage with guys thinking with this shorter track that they will get a little bit more racing, a little bit more adventurous?
Really hard call to make, to be honest. I mean, we saw in the heats there's been a few incidents where drivers have been tripping over each other more or less, and it's been a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, it's of no surprise being on the shorter tracks. So really hard to tell as to whether we're going to see a lot of incidents or whether we're going to see a lot of clean racing. And looking at that at the warm-up times at the moment, it's still a relatively mixed field. A couple of guys that are decent are still down the order, whereas not the usuals up the top. So could really be an interesting race where we might see a few drivers have to come through the field and a few try to hold their own out front.
Yeah, Berkeley the fastest in this warm-up session, but Bergeron, Rice and Callahan not too far behind. A little bit of a gap from first to second. The rest of the field very close. As the checkered flag comes out for the warm-up, as a few guys decide to go a little bit adventurous during the warm-up. We will get, hopefully, our software working for this main event. And the grid will be as follows, with front row being James Rice and Joel Berkeley, then Daniel Stevens and Alex Bergeron on the second row. Third row, Joe McKenzie and Brenton Hobson. Fourth row will be Bradley Sanders and Scott Butler. Fifth row, Lewis Hewitt and Vince Romeo, with James Robbie, Tom Callahan, Brett Wheeler, Jordan McDonough, Mick Wilson, and also Harry Stewart and Trent Vardy, the rest of the field for tonight's racing. Big thank you to everyone for tuning in throughout tonight's racing so far. It's been very fun so far. I think this main event's going to absolutely turn it on. Fingers crossed we see a very clean show as well.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of decent drivers and a lot of close racing as well in the heat. So looking forward to this one to see what sort of racing the feature's going to produce. Obviously, track a lot more worn than it was in the heats, and post warm-up. So going to be really, really interesting to see what we're going to see in terms of lines and who's going to do what in terms of setup.
Yeah, I think fuel as well, whether the guys stretch it with fuel and try and start with a little bit less fuel in the tank to hopefully make it home, and hope that there's not too many cautions. Other guys will just make sure that they're fine, no issues with fuel, and fill the car up as much as they can. So it's an interesting strategy. We saw in the first 2 rounds that some drivers were caught out with fuel and had to be really, really cautious on how much fuel they used under caution. As you said before, a shorter track, we may not see those issues. But it's always something in the back of everyone's mind under these caution periods.
Yeah, 100%. You got to make sure that you've done it right, because the last thing you want to have to do is fuel safe, especially if you're out front and possibly looking at a win. So going to be really, really interesting. But pace car is off and we are about to get ready to race. Green flag is in the air. Great start from both drivers on the front row. Berkeley straight to the top, as well as James Rice, who goes straight to the top. Bergeron's not too far behind. Berkeley up the inside, throwing a slide job on James Rice. He's going to take the lead for the race at the moment, but just behind, it's all going on. They're 3 abreast even, and we've got a caution already.
Yeah, we do. It's an incident between Tom Callahan and another driver. Callahan may go a lap down here. Oh no, there's contact between Callahan and Berkeley under caution. And I will say that will not be viewed very, very well by race control.
That was a very bizarre incident. I'm not entirely sure what actually happened there. It looked like Berkeley was just trying to catch the pace car, and Callahan probably had no idea where he was in relation to everybody
teammates
else.
took each other out there.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate issue there to happen, and very bizarre one indeed.
You see Callahan trying to loop it back around to get himself facing the right way, and then all of a sudden he's jumped in front of the race leader, Joel Berkeley, and Berkeley's got a little bit of damage from that as well. So he's out of the race as well, from the race lead out of the race, and that will absolutely hurt his championship. That is going to change the whole complexion of this season.
Yeah, Berkeley will not be happy one bit about that, especially the way the championship was looking. But we're back to green flag racing. Good jump from Bergeron. He's going to go straight to the inside and throw a slide jump on James Rice, but James Rice is going to drive it straight around the outside. And now Jai McKenzie also keeping up with Bergeron, so nearly a 3-way fight for the lead. Hobson not too far behind McKenzie as well. McKenzie and also Hobson running that middle line, trying to find a little bit of grip, but it's that top line at the moment, which is really, really strong. Bergeron trying to hunt down James Rice for the lead of this race, but it just doesn't seem to be working. Just behind Jai McKenzie and Hobson still going at it. The final position on the podium. Hobson going to drive around the outside on the top side of the racetrack. He will take third position well and truly at the moment. And contact just behind between Daniel Stevens and Bradley Sanders.
Yeah, caution is out. Lewis Hewitt also had the issues there too, so see if we can pick up what has happened there to Hewitt, because he is out of the race, so there's been a few issues there. We'll try and dissect what has happened. Everything sort of happened at the same time. Hewitt just shot to the inside, and he'll have a penalty for getting in the pits. And then Daniel Stevens, as you said, made contact there with, I believe, was that Scott Butler? Potentially? Yeah, Butler.
Sanders,
sure. Yeah, and Butler's also lost the front wing on his car as well. But yeah, you're right, that was Bradley Sanders, the other car involved in that second incident. So 2 parts to that one, as we are just completing lap number 6 when we get the green flag going again. One thing about the short track means that they're very, very short, very, very, very short caution periods, because we're already ready to go green once again.
Yeah, very, very short track list, a very short caution period. So the quicker we get the cautions out of the way, the better the racing. So going to be even better this time around as we go green flag racing. And another good jump from Bergeron as well to get alongside James Rice into turn 1. Big slide job to the bottom of the racetrack, but Rice is going to try and ride around the outside. Nearly contact between him. Hobson now into third position. They're nearly 3 wide down the front straight. 2 teammates not want to hit each other. That will be the worst possible thing you can have. But now John McKenzie into second place. Bergeron's going to start breaking away, but The battle is on for the final spot on the podium. They're going to go 3 wide again, nearly down the front straight. Bradley Sanders, James Rice, and Brenton Hobson all battling out for this podium positions at the moment. It's all going off for those front positions at the moment. And McKenzie in the fence, and that's Hobson making a little bit of contact. But now that's checked up everybody, and now everybody's trying to find a way around. But got another caution. I believe that was due to Vince Romeo having a moment into turn 1.
Yeah, Romeo and Butler as well. Also found himself back in the pits too, probably with that damage we saw earlier, making it a little bit too hard for him. So there's a little bit of heated discussion going on between Berkeley and Callahan as well. I'm pretty sure that neither of those two guys are happy with how that's all played out, and there's the incident there where we see Romeo into the infield. Butler was involved in that one, and that's possibly just due to the damage to that front wing from earlier on in the race. A little bit harder to control the corner, especially with how quick the exit of turn 4 is here too. So unfortunate for both of these guys. Romeo will continue on, but we're down to 11 cars left in this race. But that was very, very heated between Hobson, Rice and McKenzie. Bradley Sanders. Those are 4 drivers fighting for the final 2 podium spots. This is going to be a really, really heated finale to this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't quite count out the likes of John McDonnell, possibly Harry Stewart and Brett Wheeler as well, who could come through the field and stand a chance possibly. So going to be really interesting to see what happens. But we're back to green flag racing, and great jump from Bergeron once again to take the lead, although Brenton Hobson really trying to get in there on the low side, but McKenzie straight into second. So McKenzie's got some really, really good speed tonight by the looks of it. And now just behind Bradley Sanders and James Rice and Jordan McDonnell, I believe that is. Yes, it is. All battling for the minor positions, 4th, 5th and 6th at the moment. But Rice trying to run that hole and break away and get some track on his teammate Brenton Hobson. But they're 3 wide, and we've got another caution.
I believe Mick Wilson there having some issues. You can see just the end of that issue there, looping it back around. We'll get another look at what happened there. Mick Wilson, as we have completed 13 laps in this main event so far. Was there contact there between Wilson and potentially James Robbie? I have a feeling, no, there wasn't. It looks like all by himself, and Vince Romeo as well has had issues and run into the wall, and there was a secondary part to that where James Robbie did make contact with Mick Wilson. So it's interesting way that this race has played out in the last little bit. It's been very spirited, and only 10 cars left. It's just now turning into a race of attrition.
Yeah, it's really becoming a race of attrition, like you said. Obviously, shortest track on the calendar, we sort of did expect it to be a bit of an attrition race, obviously with it being a shorter lap, but at the same time, we didn't quite expect it to be this bad. As green flag is back out, another solid jump from Bergeron, but 3 SSR cars, just 2 SSR cars plus Ty McKenzie, all trying to hunt him down. Is looking like just behind Harry Stewart's going to try and make a move on the bottom of the racetrack against Jordan McDonnell. Not quite going to get it done, although they're going to stay side by side with him for the 5th position. So it's still side by side. McDonnell just up in the middle of the racetrack. Harry Stewart running the bottom. The bottom's got some decent drive, although nearly loops it there. So bottom of the racetrack sort of got some grip, but it also doesn't. So starting to make things really, really interesting. But the top side of the racetrack really still the way to go, especially with the way it's looking. McKenzie bouncing off the wall again, just out of turn 4, and Hobson allowing Hobson to catch up. But it's really, really all about who can keep it out of the wall at this point, with especially how slick it is.
Yeah, it's looking really, really difficult, and the guys are all starting to just file into single file to keep control of the car. And caution again. Mick Wilson's had another issue. Unfortunate for him. He's hasn't quite had the pace. He's just been trying to hold on, but reached a point where he's just having a few too many issues. Really, really tough circuit, this one, as we've said throughout the night. And just that inside tyre, we said earlier that it can cause issues, and yeah, facing the wrong way and the car's coming towards him. He's done the right thing and got off the circuit. That'll be 10th position in the end for him, and we get ready to go again, as we are now at pretty much the halfway point of this race tonight.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a slow burn of this race as we've seen, obviously, with a few caution periods so far. I think we're up to our fourth or fifth caution, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So, obviously, been a few incidents in this feature race, but it's been some decent racing for that final podium position and also just inside the top five between the likes of, see those SSR cars, McKenzie, and also McDonnell and Stewart. So, going to be really interesting to see what happens off this restart.
Yeah, it will be. It's been really, really heated, that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth battle. But as you said before, as we go green, Brett Wheeler's going to be one to watch here and see what he can do from the back of the field. He's just been happy sitting at the back, watching what's going on. And you almost feel like he's ready to pounce at the end of this race, just waiting for everyone to get themselves out. And then all of a sudden, bang, he'll work his way through as John McDonnell through on James Rice. And Jai McKenzie trying to hug the inside and cover off from Brenton Hobson, who's looking really quick at the moment too.
Yeah, Hobson running that high line. He's driven it straight around the outside of McKenzie, and now McKenzie's going to get done another position by McDonnell as well. So he's starting to fall back further. He's now down to fourth position, and he's got James Rice not too far behind him as well. So starting to lose a lot of track, trying to run that bottom, but it's just not quite there, and that top's really starting to come into its own.
Yeah, definitely. The bottom of the circuit does not look like it's the way to go at the moment. Jai McKenzie losing a lot of ground. So we are now on lap 24 of this race, 23 of this race, sorry, I should say. As now see James Robbie getting in there. And Jai McKenzie started that restart in second within 4 laps. He's now back in 7th and about to go to 8th position. As Brett Wheeler's having some trouble in the background, so maybe won't have the pace to get up there. But John McDonnell and Brenton Hobson getting very, very tight right now.
Yeah, it's all going off for the final podium position by the looks of it between those two, Hobson and McDonnell. Hobson running that high line, which seems to be working quite well for him. McDonnell's got some decent pace on the middle of the racetrack though. McDonnell throw a huge slide job in a turn 1, but Hobson's going to get the drive out of the corner and take that position back. Once again, McDonnell trying to make that middle work out of turn 3 and 4, but it's just not quite going to work, and Hobson will hold on to the position.
Yeah, good driving from Hobson there. Good awareness to cut back down out of turn 2 to cover off that slide job. Did a very, very good job. And what this is doing, it's allowing Bergeron to break away. Now 3.7 seconds up the road is Alex Bergeron. As there's contact between McDonnell and Hobson. This is going to get a little bit heated here between these two. These two drivers both wear their heart on their sleeve out on the circuit. Both love to get racy, but both also want to make sure everyone knows what's going on too. So we've lost Jai McKenzie from this race. McDonnell now in 2nd position. Hobson now feeling some pressure from James Rice behind, but this is a huge slide job. Not quite able to finish it off, and a little bit of contact between them too.
Yeah, Hobson's really trying to get that 2nd position back, although he's starting to fall back. Few mistakes, he just clipped the outside wall on. He's made a little bit of contact with Bradley Sanders, who nearly ended up over and out, but didn't quite get the damage that he did. So he's managed to get ahead of James Rice, who's currently not too far behind. He's just about there in 4th, but he'll fall back to 5th now. His son is really running that top side of the racetrack, as well as Hobson, who are trying to hunt down McDonnell, who's really starting to break away.
Yeah, it definitely is breaking away, and Brett Wheeler has gotten a lap down as well, which is being a championship contender, not a great sign for him as we come up. 7 laps to go right now as Bergeron is about to cross the line and start 6 to go. Gap at the front now, 7 seconds, around a 12-second lap. That's incredible. He's half a lap ahead of the rest of the field. Bergeron is just dominating out on circuit right now.
Yeah, he's about 4/10 a lap quicker that last time by, so he's got some huge pace advantage over the rest of the field, and that's just insane to have so much pace over everyone else. He's just breaking away and got in a world of his own at the moment, but Brenton Hobson, Bradley Sanders still going at it for the final spot on the podium at the moment. James Ross not too far behind. Well, it's looking like he might not quite have the pace, although quicker than Hobson and Sanders last time by, so he's got some decent pace to at least try to get something done. As Sanders with a big mistake on the front straight out of turn number 4, just clipping the outside wall, and Rice is going to try and drive it underneath, but he's going to stick to the middle of the racetrack. Well, Sanders will go high. He's not going to get the drive into turn 4, but just hold on into turn 1 and 2.
White flag in the air now for Alex Bergeron. He has lapped all but 4 other cars. A dominant night out on the circuit. Congratulations to Alex Bergeron. Absolutely untouched out on the circuit. John McDonald looks like he's going to come home in 2nd position. And Brenton Hobson will cross the line in 3rd, but it's going to be a race to the line for 4th position. I think it was
Rice just got it by 100th.
Wow. What a race that was. Absolutely dominant from Alex Bergeron, but everyone else, that was very, very hotly contested. Well done to everyone. But Alex Bergeron, your winner for round number 7. Congratulations to Bergeron on a great result. It's been a phenomenal night of racing. Bergeron winning from McDonnell, and then Hobson in 3rd. Wowee, that's going to shake up the championship coming into next round. As we said, next week we're off to Eldora. It's going to be a really, really interesting night. I think there might be a little bit of heat out on the circuit for next week.
Yes, that controversial first caution where you had Joel Berkeley and Tom Callahan come together. It'll be really interesting come next week, that's for sure.
We'll go to our race winner. Congratulations, Alex Bergeron. It looked way too easy out on track. I'm sure it wasn't as easy as it looked from the commentary box, but a very, very dominant finish in the end for you.
Yeah, for sure. The track was very slick, and you had to be right beside the fence, and that's something I like to do very much. So I think we got about an 8-second lead there, and about almost lapping 5th place, I think. So that was awesome. It was a good race. Sad to see Joel Berkeley there gone at the beginning of the race, but I'm sure we would have got something for him. We were fast for sure, and car was good, and Team ABR did a good job for the car.
It's going to be an interesting finale to the season. Next week we head to Eldora to finish off the championship. You're looking forward to wrapping this championship up with a really interesting fight at the end.
Yeah, I missed a race, so it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be tight in the standings. I don't know how it looked like, but we'll try to get it done.
Good luck for the final round. Who would you like to thank before we let you go?
Well, definitely Team ABR and all my partners, newme.com, the Snack Track Keeney's, BK Designs, Competition Suspension, Max McLaughlin Racing, Martin, everybody watching this morning, my dad, all the fans out there, my girlfriend for being on the team, Jason Nygaard for being a teammate. We work hard, and we got this car set up for this morning and paid off.
Congratulations there to our race winner, Alex Bergeron. We go next to our 3rd place finisher. This is unusual. Brenton Hobson. 3rd place, mate. That's not normal.
Definitely something new, hey.
Congratulations on a P3. It was a pretty interesting fight you had with Jai McKenzie there early on, and then Jordan McDonnell at the end, and also James Rice while he was up there too. Talk us through the race.
I was just hanging on for dear life. I'll tell you what, it was not easy. This is one of those tracks that's really hard when the top is the fastest way, which it usually is towards the A main time of the event. So you sort of got to be brave and get up there and just try not to kill yourself. And that's all I was trying to do. And I used up Paul Ricey a couple of times, which I feel bad about. We'll have to get the apology letter out in the team debrief. But it was good. Got a few sliders happening with a couple of the other guys. Obviously, Alex is in a league of his own, and it was a bit unlucky for Joel to get wiped out there at the first caution. But we'll take a 3rd place as good points, and that's what we came here for.
You're still in the championship fight too, which is going to make it really interesting before the end of the season. Who would you like to thank before we let you go?
Shout out to Bob, obviously, for running the series. It's cool to have one of the SSR guys who runs the show, and it's a good little series that he's put on here. And shout out to the sponsors, the Speedway Shop, Trackstar Raceware, JK Signs, and of course a shout out for you guys as well for putting on the broadcast. Look forward to going back and checking it out.
Well done to Brenton Hobson in 3rd position. And Cam, we're going to wrap it up there because it's been a flat out night. It's been a full on night, and we've both absolutely lost our breath with that. That was an awesome night of racing.
Yeah, 100%. It was obviously a little bit unfortunate to have so many cautions, but the rest of the racing was just absolutely unbelievable. Some really, really close racing, some awesome battles, and can't wait for what Eldora is going to bring.
As we said, Eldora next week, same time, same place, same channel, here on the iRacing Esports Network, but the action doesn't end there. For us here at SimSpeed TV on the iRacing Esports Network, on Friday we have a double header with the Geodesic GoPro Championship on Friday morning Australian Eastern Time, and Friday night we have the Parramatta Isuzu Ute AOSC from Silverstone. Saturday we will have the Major Series from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for the 2.4 hour, and Sunday we will have V8 Scops from Watkins Glen. Until then, we thank you very, very much for tuning in. Make sure you do subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network to keep up to date with all of the action here on iRacing. Until next week, thanks to Murray Bridge Bin Manufacturing and Down Under Graphics, we thank you for tuning in, and we will see you at Eldora.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?